Sixx Sense with Nikki Sixx.
Nikki Sixx here with Carrie Kasem. I am very privileged and honored and excited to be interviewing Stevie Nicks. I've been a huge fan of yours for a very long time, and it's just great being able to talk to you off mic a little bit. So how you doing?
Good.
We were talking about the Rod Stewart Stevie Nicks Heart and Soul tour, and I was saying that, you know, a lot of tours, they feel forced, the artists together, and when I heard this one, I went, wow, this is one of those packages you want to go see. And it must feel like that for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's, you know, I mean, when you think about it, Rod Stewart was hugely famous before Lindsay and I ever moved to Los Angeles. Yeah. Because we came to LA in '71. So
he was already doing Faces. Yeah, the Faces.
A big star.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, you know, he's definitely one of those iconic inspiration guys who I learned a lot from. I sang along with him, and I never saw him in concert, which is wild. But I haven't either. When you're always playing, who has time to go see concerts, especially back then?
He's one of those that I have not seen. I have not seen you. I have not seen Bowie. I've not seen Rod Stewart. Some of my favorites, because I'm always on tour.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then when you are off the road, there's that time where you're home and you're like, someone's in town. You're like, I can't go out. It's weird, right?
It is. Yeah. But you know what is also weird? I have to tell you, I was reading this, that you wrote a song from New Moon. Something inspired you in New Moon. That's, of course, one of my most favorite series. Stephenie Meyer is an incredible writer, but I got teased. They're like, you're too old to be reading that. Like, what? These are beautiful stories. What inspired you in New Moon to write?
Well, I'd seen the first movie, and I liked it, but I was on tour when I saw the first movie, so I saw it on TV, and I was
in the hotel room.
Yeah. So it was not quite as big of a deal in the little television, and so I was in Australia, and I went to see it in November of 2009.
Yeah,
and I was very taken with it because I'd had a relationship that I think was very similar in a lot of ways a long time ago, where I was really. That part where she's sitting in the bay window and it goes October, November, December, that part is what really broke my heart. And I think it's because I really experienced that myself, and I could really relate to it. And that's when I decided that this woman was onto something with these stories. And then I went back and read the books. So then I read the first two books.
And how long did that part go where she's sitting?
Yeah.
She really talks about how excruciating that was for her.
And how she couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And her dad would come in and say he's not coming back and that whole thing. So I was just very taken with that, and I don't ever really sit down to write a song. It just happened. I was in Brisbane, and there was a piano, and I wrote the whole song, and recorded it on a little tape recorder, and came back to Los Angeles with it. So that was the first song that we started on in last January, not this January, but last January when I started making this record.
So when you sit down to the piano, does the music come out of you and the lyrics kind of at the same time?
Not always. Usually I have a poem first.
Okay.
With every once in a while, I'll write one simultaneously where I'm really playing and singing, and it's just, and I'm,
at least pieces of it stick. Yeah.
Yeah. But usually I have a full-on formal poem.
Have you ever thought about putting out a book of poetry? I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah. And I have,
not just lyrics, but that.
Yeah, I have so much stuff that there's no way that it's ever going to be able to go into songs. That I can't write enough songs to put all that.
Do you write every day? Because I pretty much do every day. Yeah. I read this book called The Artist's Way. Have you read that book?
Mm-mm.
It's fantastic. It's about stopping the critic in your head and just doing this stream of consciousness writing, which is stops the process of spell checking, or does this make sense to anybody or to anything, and I just started doing that, where you write 3 pages a day, and it improved my poetry, my lyrics, my everything.
Totally.
Because I just stopped being a critic. I stopped worrying about what anybody would think, and it actually helped me with my musicianship too.
Right. So I think it makes you, if you try to keep a journal, and even if it's just, I had a terrible day today, even if whatever it is, it doesn't matter, it always leads into something.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't write every day, the things that happen to you are gone.
You forget them. Absolutely.
They're just gone and missing. But if you write it down, you always have it.
And you can see growth too.
Yeah.
I think is really important. My daughter was reading to me from her journal a couple nights ago, and she was going, I can't believe how mature I was. And she's 16.
Right.
But she was writing when she was 12. And when she's 22 and she has this stuff, and I think she has the ability to be a great writer. She has that ability in her. But to watch the growth, and the same thing happens with us.
Right, absolutely.
Musically and stuff. I ordered off of television the Midnight Special a few months ago, and I saw a Fleetwood Mac performance. And do you remember that very well, that performance at all?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think if it's the one... Is it Rhiannon? Is it
Yeah.
Go Your Own Way?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Both. You did too. I must have been done the same night.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Steven Tyler because Aerosmith was on one of them too. And he was like going, he was so nervous. And it was like, first real opportunity for rock bands to get on television.
Right.
To get that kind of big pop to the mass media, which, now isn't an issue anymore.
After you saw her performance, you came in and actually talked about it. I remember that.
I did talk about
you
it.
were very excited about it.
And I was telling my kids about, where, you came from, and Lindsay, and a little bit of the history of Fleetwood Mac before. And, they're all ears because they love music. And it started like getting into the whole thing, and then how it blew up and the whole thing. And they were fascinated with it and seeing that stuff.
And, I don't know if it's true, but are you going to be on Glee? I've heard rumors of this.
No plans of that have been made. I did go there, and I spent many hours there, watching them film a show, or at least a part of a show.
Right.
And it was great. They were doing one of my songs, and I was told that they were doing one of my songs, and I asked, do they film here? Because I didn't know if they filmed in New York or in LA, and they said, no, they do film here. And so I said, can I go? And they said, sure, you can go if you want. And the greatest thing about that whole day was that Leah Michelle said to me, nobody's ever, and we've done a lot of people's songs on this show since we started this show. Nobody has ever shown any interest in coming down here and watching us sing their song, or even calling us and saying, I'm so glad you're doing the song. Because of course, they have to kind of get an okay. Not really. It's out. So whatever
they do,
they call you and say, but nobody has ever gone down there to watch. Nobody has ever, no
That's
author of
unbelievable.
any of the songs have ever shown any interest in the fact that we're doing their songs.
It must have made them feel so good.
It did. It made them feel really good.
And to see somebody
really
else's
happy.
interpretation of your creativity.
Yeah. And I was just really happy that they were happy that I was there, that it meant something to them, Yeah. And I'm just, and they're all very dear. I really loved all of them. I loved everybody. And I was just sad for them that more interest from the actual music that they are promoting on that show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
if they're doing, and I'm not, I always think of Jesse's Girl because I loved their rendition of it. And my dad's name was Jess, my grandfather's name was Jesse. And so I'm like, one of them piped up and said, so you really are Jesse's Girl? And I said, well, yeah, I really am. And I said, it was, when I realized they were going to sing that song, I was going, oh, this better be good.
right,
Yeah, right.
Because this is an iconic song. This better be good. And it was. It was excellent.
There's a lot of talent.
And and it's like, I would think that all the people that get to have that moment on this huge television show would come out of the woodwork a little bit more, and I think they all should. So you should all take interest, take
I'm going to
notice
stand
of
corrected right now.
what is going.
Because whenever we've licensed our music to any of these shows, I've never actually, it's never even clicked in my brain. Go down. I remember when Carrie Underwood did Home Sweet Home.
Right.
And I was so excited that she was. I think she did a great version, but I never thought about going down to the taping.
Yeah.
Well, think about it, how much it means to us if somebody does.
Absolutely.
Now, do you get paid if they use, because I know that they just had a Glee compilation. It's now bigger than, I guess, Elvis. They're saying that now they've sold more CDs than Elvis sold records. I was just reading this, I think yesterday.
I think the writer.
I get Stevie's money, actually, because they got our names confused.
Right, exactly. I think the writer always gets paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The writer is king.
I see.
The writer gets paid.
Okay.
Always.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I know you have a ton to do. I'm going to ask you one last question here. I'm ready for this one. I'm ready for us to fight about this one, okay?
Okay.
Why are you not on Twitter and Facebook? Because I love following people that I look up to, and so I'm curious why you're not. Just because I want to follow you.
Okay, because I don't have a computer.
Oh.
I don't have a cell phone.
I love you.
That's a lie. I do have a cell phone because I had to be taken out of the Malibu fires almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What's the word?
So you're
Evacuated,
you're
yeah.
So I do have a little cell phone now that's in my closet plugged in case, because that was the one moment where I was completely out of contact with the world, and I was by myself, and I was terrified.
Yeah.
So at that point, I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to break down and have a cell phone because I don't want to get stuck in the middle of fire again."
This is by choice.
This is by choice. I don't Facebook. I don't Twitter. I don't MySpace. I always say I don't space face. I don't space place.
Say that too, because he wasn't on anything until he started the show.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do anything.
I refused. I was like, I will never do Twitter, and now I'm, I do it.
And never Facebook. You got on Facebook a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. So there's still time.
There's parts of the art part of the computer thing that I would probably enjoy learning, but there's just a very old school part of me that really doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And really it's just because, and don't get me started, I just think that the computer world and the internet world, I know it has a lot of great things about it, and the information highway and the library at your fingertips, but I think that the internet in general is ruining our society, and I think it's ruining our children, and I think it's making everybody rude.
I'll tell you,
and I just
I
don't
love
like
that
it.
part.
I don't
love that
like
part.
it. I think it's making all the wonderful things that people have from here. It's killing it.
You know what I've talked to my kids about? I go, everyone's living in a little 4-inch by 6-inch box, like walking around like this, and I'm like, I'm right here.
Right. It's like, have you ever said to them, do you know who I am?
Yeah. Where I say,
do you know how many people would love to talk to me?
Yeah.
And you are like this.
My kids don't care.
You're like this.
Yeah.
The kids are all the kids that are on there, they're like, I try to say something to one of, they're like,
yeah, wait, I'm busy.
My and it's like, I just want to say,
you have a lot of experience to share with them. That's what I say to my kids.
And it's like, are you just totally just live in this box where you're, you don't have, and I think it's the reason why relationships fail. And I think it's the reasons why nothing lasts. And I think it's the reason why nobody can meet anybody. I think it's all responsible for that because nobody's out there.
Well,
nobody's going out, and for the little ones, nobody's going out to play. Nobody's going for the ones our age. Nobody's going out nobody's putting themselves in a place where you might meet somebody. Yeah. And everybody our age, or unless you just got married 5 years ago, everybody's going to be divorced and come around again. So the whole world's going to be back on the market at some place.
But
nobody will go out,
and everybody's socially inept.
Everybody's socially inept.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have relationships on the internet and never meet the person that they're having this relationship. That's the only way they can feel intimate.
Or when they are together, really they have nothing. When they are physically together, they really don't have a lot to say to each other.
Yeah.
So it is becoming the new face of romance, which equals nothing.
Yeah. And as an artist, where you're coming from, going back to the song that you wrote, 1976, I mean, that's a real situation that happened that's living in your heart. You can't, so a situation going to be that I met a girl on MySpace and her name was Cindy and I never met her.
And I was so excited. I just wrote a song about her.
I wrote a song about her.
Or she doesn't even look like that and that's not her name.
Yeah.
Cindy, the faceless girl.
Her name's really Rick.
Exactly. And she's really 90.
Yeah, 90. Rick is 90. Well, it might be my new thing.
Or 13, which is even scarier.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Stevie, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Get it.
Thank you.